Hey guys, welcome. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning if it's still morning for you, wherever you're joining us at. Welcome to the Catalyst for the Trades podcast. I am Chuck Staskowitz. My co-host Jen is not with us today, and I got a really special guest with me today, guys. I've been able to work alongside Vince for 4 or 5 years and watch his journey and watch things that he was doing, and I was able to see what he was doing and implement things into my business. We had a great co-mentor together, and he's got a really exciting story. So I thought he'd be a great guest for you guys. In the fact that if you're out there growing your business right now, I think Vince can really highlight some things that and make it feel real to you, that make you feel that like all businesses are the same in some aspect, right? And the same struggles that you're going through, the guys that have done it before you have went through those struggles and have overcome them. And there is another side. So I think it's just a really amazing opportunity to dive into someone who's done fantastic things in the home service industries and just really get to know another great human and contractor out there in the world. So without any more, Vince, welcome to the podcast. I just want to, tell us who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump into it.
All right. Well, I'm Vince Heuser. I started once I got into the home service, was in 2008. I was in new home construction before that. 2008, most everyone probably knows what happened there, and my whole world was turned upside down with all that. So I decided to start a garage door service company. That was late 2008, and just basically started out of my garage in my house. So it was from zero, and then I did that it took me about 10 years to get to $1 million in revenue. And I was like, man, this really sucks. I am working like crazy. I had maybe 4 employees at that time, working daylight till dark. I mean, I was making decent money, but, we just had no structure. It was just go, 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 and, pushing through. I'm like, I can go get a job and somewhere else and make what I'm making now. And so I found a mentor, one that Chuck spoke of, and I decided to go to their initial training class and realized I really wasn't that far away from major success. It was just no one had ever taught it to me. And so I went to that meeting, initial one. I came back from that. They basically gave you the playbook out of the gate. And we tripled our business in about 90 days coming back, from that. And so, of course, I was really excited with that. Hired several more people, and we were off and running. And I participated very heavily in the program. I was all in. And I guess it was about 6 months from the initial one, I went back and I took a couple other new employees with me, so they would understand, okay, this is what my big vision was. So anyway, I decided at that point, I was in the room. I was the only garage door guy they had. I was the first one there, and everyone else in the room was pretty much heat and air or plumbing or both. And, these guys were doing, 5 million, 10 million, occasional 15 million. And I thought, man, if I ever did that, I'd just be killing it. And so at that point I decided, I just asked them, hey, what do I got to do to start an HVAC company? So they laid out the program, and they're like, don't go start plumbing and HVAC at the same time. So of course, as soon as I got back to Kentucky, I started both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
And I quickly found out why they advised me not to do that. We struggled for about a year with those, and then we It pretty much took off quickly. I mean, I went from the time that I started that program, we were at 1 million. The next year, we finished that first year at 3 million. The next one we went to 5, then to 10, and then to 15, and then to 22. And and at that point is when when I exited the business. But I went from pre-understanding how to really run a company with 4 employees to, I believe we had about 130 running 85 trucks. I mean, we were running a machine, at that point. So I exited and I thought, I'm done. I'm not doing anything else. And it's been about a year and a half. And a month ago, I decided to start another garage door company. So
yeah. Vince, you said a lot there, my friend. And I want to go back just a little bit. And you said in the first 90 days after working with these guys, you tripled your business. Like, what do you feel is, I mean, there was a lot of people in that world and in working with the same mentor. What do you feel is that you did that others didn't?
I basically just did exactly what they told me to do. I mean, it was the tracking that we had. I mean, I had software. At that time, we were using Jobber, and it tracked decently. And then I realized that I need a little bit more sophisticated, so we moved to Service Titan almost immediately. And we were small enough then; it wasn't that bad to implement. And but the things that we weren't tracking: average ticket number 1, closing rates number 2. And we really didn't have a true sales process. We just let them all go and do whatever they wanted to do. And also our marketing, we did some, but it was just all over the map. So we dialed in marketing, changed up a couple of vendors to use people that were much more versed in the home service industry versus the local guy that said, hey, I can run pay-per-click ads and I'm cheap. I found out there's a big difference in what the definition of cheap is.
Yeah.
Cheap doesn't always give you the best results. So that some of those cheap guys will cost, or people, not necessarily guys, will cost you millions of dollars when they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Vince, you said before you found this mentor, and you were kind of had $1 million revenue for 10 years. What do you feel is like the number one mistake that keeps business owners stuck at that same revenue level year after year? What do you think is the number one reason? If you have to look back, going back to the point where before you hired the mentor, what was keeping you stuck?
Me. I mean, and that's where, I mean, what I see, it's really, that every business owner will get stuck at the point of where they stop expanding their own knowledge and stop learning, the proper way to run the business. So, I was at the capacity that I could do it all in my head and try to control every single aspect of the company, not releasing any responsibility, even though I had some people that should have been doing it. So the sales process was the big thing. There was no structure there whatsoever. And then of course that contributes to very low closing rates, low average tickets, employees stealing from you. I mean, it's just, you can go on and on and on the but profit margins, we were probably running 3 to 5% a year. And there just like everything we had was a little bit messed up. So, when I got back and we immediately implemented everything that they told me to do, it was, magic happened immediately. So,
Yeah. And, Vince, I look back at it too, and I'm like, man, I see all these other people doing it. right? And that was a big shift for me because I'm like, well, if they can do it, why can't I? Like it's, so I look at it like this too, is there's a lot of people that succeeded and there's a lot of people that didn't. And I mean, you nailed it. You did exactly what they told you, right? There's a lot going around today about mentors and coaches and gurus and all this stuff, right? And I really feel that it's a two-part problem, right? If you, in no way, shape, or form, by you hiring the mentor that you hired or I hired, did they do the work for us?
Right.
You had to get in there and do the work.
100%.
And I think that that's where a lot of the disconnect is right? Is like people think, okay, hey, I hired somebody, they're just going to fix everything. Well, that's not it. Vince, I know, I saw you. I saw how hard you worked at it, right? And I know for myself how hard I worked at it, right? But there was the blueprint's there, right? And it's like, okay, everything that they told us to do wasn't an exact match, but we had to go start somewhere, collect the data, and then readjust. Correct. And that's where the magic came in, man. It was like, and it became fun because now I'm showing up to calls and I'm seeing Vince have success with this thing, right? And I'm like, oh, wow, could that work in my business? Let's try it. Let's collect some data there. And then if it didn't work, okay, where do we need to adjust? Where do we need to tweak some things just a little bit differently? And then Vince, how are you still tracking with that? Like bouncing ideas off of other business owners was fantastic. And knowing that, hey, if they can do it, so can I.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, a whole lot of it, I believe, you got to have the right mindset going in. I mean, that's almost 100% of it. As I know you probably saw it too, but I saw hundreds of people come through the program. They're all jacked up while they're there. Man, I'm going to go kill it. And then you never see them again, so that they didn't want to participate in anything. And then everything was always somebody else's fault. And it's no different than any of the seminars because I've been to so many different masterminds and all that since that point. And, there's a couple guys that I've heard talk many times about the 95-5 rule, that 5% of the people that are in that meeting are going to go back and do everything I said and make changes in their business, and they're going to be successful. The other 95 aren't going to do a damn thing. And I saw it over and over and over and over. And I helped tons of them, and they would call, and you tell them what to do, and they wouldn't do any of it. And I just give up on them after a while.
Yeah, motivation is temporary, transformation is forever. And that's what you did, right? And I love the fact that you said, you came home after first going to this, you were all in, you're 100% in. In 90 days, you tripled the business. What do you think are some easy wins that a trade owner can do in 90 days? I'm not saying to triple their business, but think about that 90 days when you came back. What are some of the easy things that you put into place that people could do nowadays and just get some quick, easy wins?
Number one is a checklist. I mean, like everything that we have in the company revolves around checklists. And so the checklist that on a service call, that's what drives the sales process. It's literally a step-by-step, on how to run it. We don't literally fill in every blank, but the checklist guides them through that process, and we have a very specific process on how to do everything from the time that they pull up in front of that house to the time that they're done. And it works. And it works almost every single time. We'll run closing rates in the 80s, sometimes 90s. It's pretty tough to get 100%, but you'll have an occasional one you can't sell. Most of those are people that are living in a dreamland about what they think they're going to be paying for a job. But we closed the majority of them. That's the biggest thing. Is it's got to be processed all the way through. The people that your CSRs, that answer the phone, they need a process on what that looks like. The technician has to have the process, because that's really what allowed us to scale the way we did, because I tried to do it all. Hell, up until the meeting that I went to, I literally answered the phone while I was on service calls. I was still working in a truck. So, I guess, and that's another thing is that I told so many of them is get your ass out of the truck. And that's hard to do for the guy that's, regardless of the trade, with, if you've got 3 or 4 or 5 employees and most of them are still in the truck, the owners, and if you're in the truck, you can't run the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you had some major success from, going 10 years, kind of staying flat, to really dialing it in, getting some, help behind you, getting some fuel for that fire, because it was in you. It was always in you. You just didn't know how to unlock it, and then once you learned how to unlock it, you just went full tilt, Vince, and you had some major wins and major success there. You touched on this a little bit, average ticket and sales, but what do you think are 2 or 3 critical numbers that owners need to pay attention to today?
Booking rate is number 1. I mean, that's where it starts. Once that phone rings, and you've probably paid a lot of money to make it ring. So, it's I mean, once you get past the marketing stage, it's just a math game at that point all the way around, because you should be booking 80% of the calls. So you just lost 2 out of 10. So, and there's the first fall off. When you get to the job, so we want them to close at least 80%. There's another 2 out of 10 that you lost it again. All the way through. So when you're looking, even when you're comparing it back to what you spend on marketing, and start looking at what every single phone call is really worth to you, you need to think twice about hiring a minimum wage person to answer the phone, because that can cost you more money than almost anything you did by just not booking the daggone calls. Because once you really got a good process of running the call, it's just, I got to find a way to get in the house. We get in the house, we're going to do it. But if you can't get the call booked, and honestly, it's even on that side, and I've seen this many times. I've probably been guilty of it myself. It's not, if you're not in there and hearing them take the phone calls, sometimes that can be an ear bleeding process to go back and listen to those phone calls and service charge. Like, oh my goodness. I wouldn't have booked the call if I'd have heard that.
Yeah. And you know what, Vince, like, I don't know about you. I mean, you exited a short amount of time ago. My exit was 2 years ago, August 1st. And the amount of technology that has come in that short amount of time, that 2 years, it's just crazy. Now, all these digital marketing companies, if they're not listening to the calls with some sort of AI bot or qualifying them for you, then they're way behind in the times, right? Like, so, like, I look back now, and we'll get into this with what you got going on in the future, but I look back now and I'm like, holy cow, how fast things are changing and rapidly improving. And I'm like, man, I could have taken my bottom line way down with all the things that are in place now.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just in 2 years, so I'm sure you've had some of that too. You talked about, again, I go back to amazing success, but you talked about coming back in the first 90 days, you tripled your business. You had to hire. Tell me what most people say, oh, hiring is a nightmare. What do you feel was the right process for you for hiring, and how often were you recruiting and trying to get those A players? Or what was your approach on hiring?
Well, I mean, we basically recruited all the time. I was always looking, and we just really hired on personality. But honestly, I mean, to get to the triple point, I only added maybe one person then, because our book, I mean, those numbers I just said, our booking rate was horrible. I mean, because there was times like, I mean, I was answering the phone and I had a CSR, but she wasn't there all the time. So I answered the phone when she wasn't there, or if it rolled over. But if I was physically on the job, I was like, screw it, I ain't answering the phone. I'm up here working on the door. Well,
Yep.
but that's another one of those mindset things. Like, it's like, if you don't answer the phone, you're definitely not going to be booking the call. And, and by the time you call them back, there's a good chance they've already called somebody else and scheduled with somebody else. So, that we raise our booking rate where we book almost everything because in my operation, we did free estimates on everything. So the only people that we don't book, I mean, you want to put as small a barrier as you can at the phone. And so the only people that we don't book now are the ones that demand a total price on the job before we get there. And we'll give them ranges, but I mean, we're never going to say it's going to be $500 exactly without being able to knowing for sure what's going on. So that's the only thing we don't book. But the second thing is we tripled our average tickets. I had no concept of selling the premium price stuff. So naturally, if you don't offer it, there's not a customer alive that says, "Hey, is there anything else you got I can buy?" Because if there is, you just send every one of them to me. I'll take them all. You have to meet one. So, we went in there with one option. At that point, it was always the lowest option. And our average tickets were probably 125, 150 bucks. And it's hard to make any money on that. Well, I mean, within the first week of coming back, we got our average tickets up over $500. And in the garage door business at that time, that's pretty outstanding. So, that tripled, that alone, it really is all that we had to do to triple the business, because all the average tickets went up.
Yeah, I want everybody to hear that again. The business was already tripled. It was already there. They just had to make a few shifts to it and not really hire anybody else. Just a few little tweaks to the business tripled it in 90 days. I mean, that's amazing. Now, Vince, obviously, after that first year, 2 years in, you're doing millions now, right? Like you did 3 million that first year. You went really quickly. Like when you were doing, 10 million, but at that 10 million mark, like what shifted in your hiring process? Like how were you finding talented people?
So, I mean, I paid everyone, and pay was a big thing. I mean, we tried to pay the highest rates in town. It was all incentive-based pay, or flat rate if they were installers. And so, I mean, I mean, in my opinion, there's a wide range of arguments on this, but I think the incentive-based pay systems are the best way to go. But it's the easiest from a management level as well, because the guys that are good and want to succeed and follow process are going to make the most amount of money they've ever made. The ones that are lazy, they're going to quit. And so there's very few of them that you even have to fire. So, that was a big one. And of course, what you quickly find out is the A players want to work with A players. So you get one in, and then it's, hey, who do you know? So, referrals were a big one.
Yes.
We would pay $100. So this was a really big one that we did to recruit. So I don't like the whole sign-on bonus deal. I think because it creates issues internally. So what we did was offer a bonus to the employee that did the referral, and they would make $100 a week for up to 1 year, as long as both sides were still employed. So they could make $5,000 a year. And if they brought, because what happened is it's the same thing, 80-20 rule, kind of on that. 20% of the people there would be the only ones that would refer. And there was a few that we would pay $500 or $600 a week just in referral money every week. But it's nothing if he brings you an A player that's putting big numbers on the board.
Yeah. And what you did is you created an ownership mentality, Vince.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And like you look at these stores like Winco is a co-op, right? It's employee owned, or REI is an employee owned company. Now, I love the fact that you did something like that encourages the employees to build the culture and bring it in. Because here's what happens, right? The guys, they don't go to the boss and complain. They go to their buddies. Now, if they're complaining to their buddies and the buddy knows, hey, if I can get this guy happy and bring him along and make sure he's still a good fit for the culture and the company, I still get $100 a week. So they're going to try to they're going to spend the time to walk him through, maybe calm him down about being so pissed off and say, you know what, just go to Vince with that. Like take that to the manager. Like you know, they can't fix anything if they don't know about it. And by doing that, ingraining that into the culture, it now becomes everybody's, you know, helping each other keep people happy and improve that culture. I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then cool. And later on into our process, I mean, we did something really unique where at the time I thought I invented the whole thing. I found out later there was a few other people in the country doing it, but we eliminated the, you know, quote, comfort advisor or outside sales guy position, and we brought them all in house. Yep. And so we had a room full of salespeople, and you know that they really became accountability. I don't know what the proper term was, but they, you know, the technicians would have to call in on every single job and speak to the salesperson, and then so the salesperson would usually be the one selling the job. So I mean, we cross sold because we did garage doors, heating and air, plumbing, and electrical work, but we cross sold more stuff when I started that process than we ever had. You know, because it didn't matter what job we were on, that salesperson sold it all. So I mean, he understood it.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you about this too, Vince, because I knew you were doing it. I knew back then. And what I really loved about the way you did this process, right, is like, I don't know about you, but before you did this process, but my sales guys, they were commission based. So they weren't hourly, right? So when they weren't on a sales call, they were off golfing or doing whatever else they wanted to. So what you did was you shifted them from doing that, and now they were getting more opportunities by sitting behind the desk. And like, look, you're pushing them more because they're not out focused on golf and everything, right? And then you go to that call by call management. Leads are expensive. Every single call, you're watching what Bobby's doing out in the field and coaching him along the way or seeing it along the way. And I love this strategy, especially for the guys that are using like Rilla, the AI or the call listening. That's literally like instantaneous. So you can see what Bobby's doing from the moment he gets to the door, the conversation that he's having. Now you have this sales guy in the desk position. He's watching all along, and then he's queuing up. Okay, like he hit his mark there. Okay, he talked about that. Okay, he's teeing me up. And you know the conversation that's happening in real time. I mean, this is incredible technology. And I do believe that, you know, by what you did was you shifted it into, you know, your sales guys that were maybe performing at $1 million or $2 million a year. You just bumped them by, you know, 500,000 to $1 million. I mean, tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh yeah, those now we reduced their commissions just because they would have 20 opportunities a day. You know, not all heat and air, of course. I mean, it was they worked in every trade. But the worst one probably tripled what they sold. But now their commissions were about half of what they got before, but they had so many more opportunities. And what we found by how we did it, so we would basically build teams around each salesperson. So then, they became, the ones that worked well together, especially became machines, because they would understand what the other one needed to be teed up to be able to generate the sale, or this is what I want you to say or don't want to say. But our sales overall skyrocketed when we did that, because you find out the truth about everything. Well, now really you can do it anyway. That was just coming out when I did that. But
100%. I was having guys put phones in their pocket and just mute it so they couldn't hear me, but I could hear the interaction. I was doing similar to what Rilla's capabilities are, but not there, right? So talk to me about the process of having the guy in the office. So technician goes to the home, right? He diagnoses everything. He runs the play, right? He goes, does the discovery, gains the trust of the client, talks about the home, their dog, their kids, all the things, right? Then he gets to the nuts and bolts. They got a 10-year unit or 15-year unit. And now it's like, okay, hey, I need to tag someone else in here. Talk to me about the tag in. Like, how would you tag someone in virtually?
So at that point, we just, when they finished their checklist, they were not to talk about pricing or solutions in the home. Yep. And see, what did we? I don't even remember what we called them. Now we didn't call them salespeople.
Sure.
It was more of a supervisor. I'll think of it in a second. I can't believe I just drew the blank on that.
Yep.
But anyway, I had to call my manager, and so he would call him. And then they would have a discussion about the checklist. And this was a key thing that we found. We tried it on video. It was horrible.
So no Zoom. It was just over the phone.
Yeah, we did that initially, but it did not work, because about half the people that were there, on the other end, did not want to be on video. They weren't. I thought, man, after COVID, everybody's been on a Zoom call. Wrong.
Yeah, sure.
Not the case. And so that was the only time we would use Zoom, is if the salesperson needed to see a video of something that was going on, that a checklist really wouldn't tell you.
Sure.
So anyway, they would run through the checklist, and this was key, is to be on speakerphone in front of the customer, because we wanted that customer to know that this conversation is a back and forth, and we're going to be discussing what's the best interest for you, Mr. Jones, or whatever. And so they would come up with solutions, which a whole lot of them are typically about the same stuff over and over and over. So you already know, but that led to so many more turnover opportunities than what we ever had before, because now anything that was really over 5 or 6 years old now is a turnover opportunity, which there are very few technicians that would ever turn over something at that age, so, and there would be times they would ask, even the salesperson would be asking the question, asking additional questions to the customer about like what they wanted and expectations and that type of thing. But our high-end equipment sales skyrocketed, and because what we found out on the turnover is the technicians, they're scared to sell the higher end stuff. They just want to get the sale. They're used to selling $1,000 or less, and when they got that $7,000 or $8,000, $9,000 sale, they were jacked. They're like, no, we want the $18,000 or $20,000 sale. So that got offered every time, and same thing when I talked about earlier on the doors, where we were able to triple. And you start offering the premium option every time, then you'll sell it. 20% of the time. So even more.
And so your guys, literally, your comfort advisor was in a desk on speakerphone, running through the options, talking to Mrs. Jones, the timeline, the whole 9 yards. What's the best fit for their house? What were you closing at with that? What was your closing rate?
We closed something. It was in the 90s. Wow. It was ridiculous.
Did you
very, very rarely did we not close something, because if we didn't, now I'm talking calls that we went in for a service call. You know,
Yep.
I mean, because those you should be closing almost all of them. Now, we ran the same process even if it was a sales call. Now, the
Okay.
sales calls we were closing, you know, in the 50 to 60% range, but our average tickets were way higher than what they did before.
Yeah. Because that manager or that comfort advisor is always offering 3-4 options. He or she is always offering financing. They're giving them exactly what they need. How long did that process take, Vince? When they were on the phone, they got the comfort advisor on the phone.
Quick.
They're talking to Mrs. Jones back and forth.
10 minutes. I mean, the only
10
ones
minutes.
that would take much longer than that. Yeah, that's why they got so many opportunities. I mean, because it really, the only ones that took a very long time is, number one, if the homeowner couldn't make up their mind. That does happen sometimes. And then if we had financing issues. But this was another huge key component that I didn't even see coming until we started doing it, is when, you know, when you're the salesperson, and I'm sure this happened to you as well, Chuck, but you know, you're in there and you got this one, I mean, you know, this son of a bitch is sold, you know, it's a slam dunk, and you run that credit check, decline, you are done. Well, in this world, it ain't that way. But you know, we ran, I think we had 6 or 7 different finance companies that we had. So when we would get their information, we literally just write the information down. We plug in the information. So when we get the decline, sorry, Mr. Jones, sometimes it takes a few minutes to get the approval back, and the whole time, okay, option number 2, we're entering it in again. Option number 3, we're entering it in again. So, you know, we would run through that in the entire waterfall of credit
Until
options.
you got to the yes.
Yes. And so there was a very, very rare time, you know, and it would be the ones like, why did we even waste our time on this when you filed bankruptcy last week? You know, no one's going to do it.
Sure. You know, and I really like this, Vince. And like I said, going back to with what they have nowadays, the CXC and the Rilla stuff, the technology that's out, like you can even go deeper with this process. But this buddy system concept is amazing. Look, you go to the gym by yourself. Are you going to get results? Yes.
Yep.
But it's that much easier not to do that workout, not to do that extra rep, not to do that, you know, same thing with the call, right? If you're running a call by yourself and nobody's behind you, right? It's that much easier to not offer the financing, not put the options together, right? But this buddy system works, and you proved it out, you know, and you've got the guy on the back end who's not out playing golf. He went from having 2 or 3 opportunities a day to 20. The law of averages makes sense. The average tickets increase. I mean, no wonder you had ultimate success with this. Like, it's such a cool process. And I heard you were doing this, right? Like, I think I might have been done or working on my exit.
Pretty much out at the time.
I
did it for a while before I made it public that I was doing it.
Right, you had to collect the data. Absolutely. Yeah. No. And it's amazing. But it's like, look, this is exactly it. Like, I could hear an idea of what Vince is doing, and I may not go do it exactly the same way, but I'm going to take key components of it, right? And like, Vince didn't have the opportunity to put Rilla in place then. But I know if you looked back, you would have had that in place.
Absolutely.
You know? So it's like, what have the greats done before, right? What have the guys that have had ultimate success, what have they done? What can you take and tweak just a little bit and throw out there and just ignite it? You know, like I love looking at the past, right? To know what I need to do now. So Vince, I mean, such an amazing story, man. And I know you have a ton more insights. I want to talk about here and now. You grew an amazing company. You were flying, bro. Like, it was like every time I turned around, I was like, holy shit, you added another 5 million a year. You added another 10 million a year. Like, it was super fast, bro. Like, I love the story. What now? What are you doing now?
So, of course, I thought I was going to retire and
no such thing for guys like us.
yeah, no. So it only took me about 3 months, and I'm like, I'm gonna kind of start. So I got with a branding company. I actually created the brand and the whole the name, the brand, the whole ready to go. Like, I don't know, we were probably 6 months out of it, and then I had another advisor's like, look, stop. You promised me you do not do anything for 1 year. And I said, okay, okay, like you need to take a little bit of a break. So I basically did that. I waited till the year mark, and then, I had family. My daughter and son-in-law both were big in the company. My son-in-law actually ran the door business, so and got on board. So I had a non-compete for heating and air and plumbing. The company that bought me didn't do. I was the first garage door business, so I only got non-competed in Kentucky on doors. So I said, let's just move to Florida and we'll do this again. So
yeah, I love that, Vince. And look, like, what do you feel is your goals with this one?
Oh, I'm going to do it again. I can build. I really think I can build it faster this time. I mean, not even counting the wasted 10 years of being an idiot business owner, but
sure.
Now that, because there's so many mistakes that we made on the marketing end, where I just burn money like crazy, that we now know what works, what don't work. We know the people we need to use and don't need to use, and so that's far more efficient. Now I got to spend a little bit on the front end, but we're already a month in, to this new one, and we're running. We're probably averaging 4 jobs a day right now.
Nice.
And I still, Google's giving me fits on one of the locations not approved me. If we had that location already running, we'd be probably running 8 to 10 jobs a day already. So it's going to go very, very quick. I got 4 trucks sitting here waiting. That's how confident I am. I bought them ahead of time. So
yeah, Vince, I love it. And keep, post some stuff online so I can see what you're doing, man. Like, I hear things, we know the same people, but post some stuff online. Like, it's only going to be a matter of time before I see Vince with, another 85 trucks on the road. And guys, like, I want everybody to hear that too. Once you do something and have such great success, it does really become that much easier to do it again, because you think about what you're doing in your business today, and think about over the last 2 weeks, right? And all the things that you've overcome in the last 2 weeks. Now you're not going to go and do those same things again the same exact way. And that's what Vince is doing now, right? He's taking the keys that he has to success. He's doubling down on those success points, and he's leaving all the BS behind. You can do this too. Every day that you get up, put your boots on, and then when you come home from work, look back at your day and say, okay, what are some things that I did really well? What are some things that I didn't do well? And what are some things that I'm never going to do again? And that will really speed up the process. When you start to break down your days and your weeks and your months and your quarters and your years, you can really, I don't know about you, Vince, but I reflect back a ton. I mean, I just spent the whole summer with my family, and I was like, man, when I'm ready to launch another one, I'm going to do it this. I'm not going to wait for this. I'm going to look at this every single day instead of waiting 6 months to look at it. So that reflection is super important. Whether you've exited your business or you're just running your business now, you got to reflect back on what you're doing. Learn the lesson the first time, even if it cost you money or didn't cost you money. Learn that lesson and what to do the next time that it comes around. Because that is a make or break point. You keep repeating the same mistakes, it's going to cost you a ton of money. So, I just want to thank you, Vince. Thanks for jumping on with me. Guys, remember, hit that like, subscribe. You can find us on all channels. You're probably watching the replay of this, So hit the like and subscribe. Tell some friends about the podcast. What I love most about Vince's story is he's just a regular guy, and I love to bring regular guys on, Vince. Like you said, I didn't know what I didn't know for 10 years, but once I knew it, I was able to take it and apply. Vince, thank you again for coming on and sharing. Guys, hit that like and subscribe button. Tell a friend about it. Vince, if somebody wants to reach out to you, maybe just pick your brain or say, hey, what would you do here? Is there a way that they could reach out to you?
Yeah, you're welcome to email me. It's VH, my initials, at everdoor.com.
Yep.
And I'll get back to you. I help a lot of people. I mean, I still do now. I've got friends in Kentucky and friends that I've met at all these masterminds. I mean, I don't mind helping a lot of people. I've taught that whole inside sales process to several people.
Yeah, and look, I know it's only a matter of time. If you know somebody in Florida, or you're looking to move to Florida and want to work for an amazing company, I can tell you right now, get behind Vince and Everdoor. You want to start a career or learn from alongside of one of the greats, and maybe go do it yourself somewhere else. I know Vince would mentor you in a second and show you how to do this firsthand. And that's what I did. I worked for some big companies. I seen what they did well and what they didn't do well, right? And I took and applied that back. Now that got me some good success. But then again, just like Vince, I didn't know what I didn't know until somebody showed me. So again, thanks, Vince. I appreciate you. It was great catching up with you. Thanks again, guys, for listening. I hope you guys have an incredible week, and we'll chat with you next time.
All right. Thank you.